Hey folks, this is Rhykker, bringing you Diablo 3 2.3 patch notes that have been datamined by DiabloFans.com. In this video, we'll go over details about Kanai's cube, the new Rhykker cube of the game, as well as other big changes, including new sets, buffed sets, class buffs, new items, and we're going to start with a roundup of some of the things that Blizzard has told us about upcoming patch 2.3 after they showed us the preview. And of course, if this is the first time you hear of patch 2.3, I encourage you to first check out this video here, because we're going to be expanding upon things said therein. So first off, for you console gamers, good news, patch 2.3 will release at the same time on PC and next-gen consoles. That's PS4 and Xbox One. Other exciting news, the Hellfire event is being changed. This is the whole process you have to go through to get a Hellfire amulet. First off, Hellfire amulets will now roll with a guaranteed socket. Furthermore, key wardens will now just straight up drop infernal machines rather than keys. The current process for making a Hellfire amulet is so painful that these changes are very, very welcome and are a long time coming. Next, we got some info on how Kanai's cube operates. But first, just a real quick note, since I joked about the name in the previous video, well, it turns out Kanai's cube is actually named after a Blizzard employee who tragically passed away in 2014, and so this was Blizzard's way of honoring him, and really being named after the successor to the Rhykker cube. And I'm talking practically here, not lore-wise, because lore-wise it's actually the predecessor. But nonetheless, this is perhaps one of the biggest honors that could be bestowed upon someone inside a video game. We'll touch upon this more in a future video, but if you want to read more in the meantime, Kevin Kanai Griffith, you can go look him up. As far as how this awesome cube of awesomeness works, similarly to Diablo 2's Rhykker cube, you will be able to put items inside and combine them to create different things. But one of the most exciting features is the ability to break down a legendary item and forever store its legendary property. You're then able to equip legendary properties as passive abilities, which don't compete with your 4-class passives. So Blizzard explained a little more how this will work, and again it starts by breaking down the item in the cube, and you're then able to equip a total of 3 legendary affixes at a time. 1 weapon affix, 1 armor, and 1 jewelry. So this is the limit they're putting on it to stop it from just getting crazy overpowered. You know, it's just going to be regular overpowered instead. So the weapon slot counts as both weapons and offhand items, jewelry is self-explanatory, and armor is basically everything else. Now there are restrictions. You can't equip a legendary affix from another class. So no calamity bonus for barbarians, for instance. Also, you can't get the Hellfire passive, nor can you get the Ancestor's Grace passive. If you've not heard of Ancestor's Grace, this is a hardcore specific item. I think it's the only item in the game that is exclusive to hardcore mode, and it basically gives you a free resurrection. So from this, we'll segue into the patch notes that were datamined by Diablo fans. Now one thing, again, these were datamined. That means that the patch files have been sent through the server, people have opened them up, analyzed the code, but within the game code, there are sometimes things that developers leave behind, things that they were maybe experimenting with in the past, but never actually brought into the game or planned to bring into the game. And in fact, Blizzard came out, as soon as the patch notes leaked, the datamined notes, Blizzard came out and said, take everything you see with a grain of salt. They even specifically highlighted Cursed Realms. Now, we spoke about Cursed Realms in previous datamined patch notes. They sounded like some really cool system coming to the game. We still see notes about Cursed Realms in these new patch notes, and there are new notes about the Cursed Realms, but Blizzard says that they are not coming in this patch. They are, quote, an internal experiment. And what we see in the patch notes is that Kanai's cube has the ability to open up a portal to the Cursed Realm, or at least this is what the devs planned at some point. May we see Cursed Realms come into the game in the future? Perhaps. The fact that they're still being iterated upon means that they're not quite where Blizzard wants them to be. If Blizzard isn't going to be happy with them, they won't release them, and they'll just scrap them, just like they did with Arena PvP. But as for what is coming, and really not getting Cursed Realms isn't a big deal because we have so much coming. So the datamined info on Kanai's cube, we've actually got all the datamined recipes. The first one being Extract Legendary Power. This is the power that's been touted. This is the one that is the game changer. And we see a whole bunch of new crafting materials in here. Kanduran Rune, Chaldeum Nightshade, Ariat War Tapestry, etc., etc. Overall, this seems to be actually one of the easier recipes, and I suppose that is what you would expect, because it will take quite an effort to collect every single legendary affix in the game. Now, the next power of the cube is Reforge Legendary. This is definitely a lot more expensive as it requires 50 Forgotten Souls on top of the other crafting reagents. And we could only speculate on what this means. Some people think this means to upgrade it to an ancient, but I suspect it might actually be simply re-rolling the item entirely. So let's say you find that item that you really want, that Dagger of Darts for instance, but its rolls are crap. This enables you to keep the item, but re-roll it completely, and again there will be that 10% chance for it to be ancient. Because anytime you find or craft a legendary, there is a 10% chance that it is ancient. Next we have Upgrade Rare Item. Could this mean upgrading it into a random legendary of the same type? Maybe. Or it could just mean adding another affix. Let's say you have a yellow item and it only has 4 affixes out of the total 6 that it can have. This might simply add on another affix. This is likely to be the case because you don't need any Forgotten Souls to craft this, and you would expect that you would need Forgotten Souls if you were going to be crafting it into a legendary. Next we have Convert Set Item. This is perhaps the most mystifying one, but it probably will allow you to re-roll a set item into an item of another set. So you get a reroll on that same item, the item type remains the same, so if it's a belt, it stays a belt, and it'll still remain a set item, but you have a chance of getting a different set. Again, that's just speculation. It does require 10 Forgotten Souls, so you're definitely getting a set item out of this. Next we have Remove Level Requirement. This is going to be a lot of fun for leveling up alts. It's basically the same as having a Gem of Ease on every single item you have equipped. Next, Convert Crafting Materials. That is pretty self-explanatory and a welcome change. By the same token, we have Convert Gems. This is interesting because I thought the developers had said that when they introduced the new power of the Broken Crown, whenever a gem drops, a gem of the type socketed into this item also drops. They seem to suggest that that was their solution for people wanting to convert gems from one type to the other. Then we have 2 very exciting recipes here. Open Portal to Greed Realm. You use a puzzle ring and any other item, as well as open a portal to the secret cow level. The quote not a cow level was introduced as an anniversary bonus, and it was only around for a short time before being removed from the game. Well, now we know how we'll be able to access it again. As for how we're gonna get this cube, we're gonna find it in the new area, the Ruins of Secheron. And it's looking like its interaction will be similar to that of your artisans, your blacksmith, your enchantress, etc. And the NPC that you'll be dealing with is the ghost of Zoltan Kuhl. So that's going to be embarrassing having to talk to that guy after you killed him. Yeah, about that. Also, the legendary affixes that you extract via the cube will be account-wide with respect to the usual divisions of your artisans. So, season and non-season will be divided, hardcore and softcore will be divided, but otherwise you'll have access to everything you unlocked across the same group of characters. Some new portrait frames were found in the Datamined patch notes, including the BlizzCon 2015 frame that looks like some kind of Witch Doctor Murloc. We found the seasonal frames that Blizzard previously revealed, as well as a bunch of cosmetic frames that will probably be restricted to the Chinese servers for the time being. As a reiteration, the Chinese servers have basically a different game going on. They have microtransactions, and through those microtransactions they're able to buy a lot of things, including cosmetic items. On to the new and changed sets. Blizzard has done another pass on the useless sets. So we're seeing Chandoto's Wizard 2-piece set, Shenlong's Monk 2-piece set, and Manajuma's Witch Doctor 2-piece set all receive massive revisions. The Wizard's Veers set has gotten a buff. It's looking like Veers will be combined with Chandoto's because Chandoto's buffs your out of Archon damage, and Veers basically supercharges your Archon mode. We're not really seeing any real mechanical changes or gameplay changes. It's basically just flat out buffs. So I look forward to seeing whether these buffs will be enough to make Archon a viable wizard build. Next, we have changes to the Helltooth set. Unbelievable. It's finally happened, guys. Basically what the rework to Helltooth does is hugely buff the damage of Wall of Death, formerly known as Wall of Zombies, increase your survivability when you cast Wall of Zombies, and make enemies who are being attacked by your Wall of Zombies take a lot more damage from your other skills. And we're gonna get to some of the changes coming to the Witch Doctor in just a bit, but as a preview, zombie bears. The bears are back. We also have 3 new sets coming to the game, one for Monk, one for Witch Doctor, and one for Crusader. Patch 2.2 gave a new set to the Demon Hunter the Barbarian, and the Wizard, so now the other classes are getting the same treatment. The new Monk set is pretty ridiculous. I guess Blizzard saw how much we love the Gun-Go gear applying Exploding Palm upon Exploding Palm upon Exploding Palm, so now basically everything applies Exploding Palm all the time. Every third hit of your spirit generators applies Exploding Palm. Your 7-sided strike detonates your Exploding Palm. And the icing on the cake, 7-sided strike deals its total damage with each hit. So this is a nice combination of 7-sided strike and Exploding Palm. It's gonna couple great with the Gun-Go gear, and I can't wait to see the madness that will ensue. The new Witch Doctor set is introducing some new gameplay to the Witch Doctor. Right now we basically have the pet build, and previously we had that damage over time spell build, while this one is focused on creature skills. Corpse Spiders, Plague of Toads, Fire Bats, Hex, and Piranhas. With this set equipped, you have a Spider Queen follow you around, deals damage over time, slows enemies, it improves your survivability, and it increases the damage of the skills we just mentioned by 500%. I like that this gives some variety to the Witch Doctor, but I'm not yet sold on this set, so I'd like to see how it plays out. As for the new Crusader set, the Hammerdin is back. Blessed Hammer damage increased by 750%. And on top of that, it mixes in Falling Sword. Every time you hit an enemy with Blessed Hammer, you reduce the cooldown of Falling Sword and Provoke by 1 second, and you take 50% less damage for 8 seconds after landing with Falling Sword. So this kind of reminds me of the D2 Hammerdin combined with the Enigma rune word, where you would teleport around with Enigma and cast your hammers. The only difference is instead of teleport, you're now using Falling Sword. I'm not quite sold on how well the set will perform damage-wise, but if the playstyle is as I predict it will be, then that'll be really fun, and it'll just be a matter of Blizzard tuning the numbers to make it work. Now, apart from sets, there have been a lot of other items that have been data mined, and in the data mined strings, they're all basically listed as rings. That doesn't mean the items actually are rings. It's all just internal reference data. One thing we're seeing is a legendary gem that makes you deal increased damage against Rift Guardians and bosses. This is going to be a new best-in-slot legendary gem for basically every build. That said, Blizzard did mention that there were tuning passes being made to how much time you would spend against the Rift Guardian, and I'm guessing they didn't mean by introducing this gem. So if that is the case, then this might not be mandatory, but in the present state of the game, this gem would be mandatory. Apart from that, we have items that increase the attack speed of Blessed Hammer, multi-shot attacks faster, Blessed Hammer damage is increased, Blessed Hammer's resource cost is refunded sometimes. Overall, it seems like there's a lot of new Blessed Hammer items, so Blizzard really wants to make this Hammerdin build work. We also have Strafe Projectiles Piercing. We have items that are going to buff Archon, so we're going to have increased attack speed, armor, and resistances while on Archon mode. We're going to have a Wave of Destruction expelled every second you are in Archon mode, and that might actually be the item required to make Veer's set work. Bonuses from Archon will now last for a period of time after Archon expires. For the Crusader, an item will make Judgment cast at your landing location when casting Falling Sword. Again, that'll combine with the new Crusader set. For Monks, we have an item that will make the damage of your spirit generators increase by a certain amount for each point of spirit you have. We have an item that increases your damage when you're at max spirit. For the Demon Hunter, we have an item that makes hatred generators attack 30% faster and deal more damage. For Witch Doctor, they're trying to make the Fire Bats come back, so we have an item that, while channeling Fire Bats, you gain a certain amount of life per hit. Now, another curious item has the same power as the Ring of Royal Grandeur, but it has a different ID. So this potentially means a new item is coming that will do the same thing as the Ring of Royal Grandeur. Either that or they're changing the internal ID of the Ring of Royal Grandeur, but this is definitely something very peculiar. Now for the Witch Doctor, again, Helltooth set revolves around Wall of Zombies, aka Wall of Death. It normally has an 8-second cooldown. Well, we have a new item that allows Wall of Death to be cast up to twice again within 2 seconds before that cooldown begins. For the Barbarian, we have items that'll buff Hammer of the Ancients, so that when it hits an enemy, you gain increased attack speed. We have an item that will make Call of the Ancients gain the effect of Ancient's Fury rune. We have an item that makes Cleave deal more damage based on how much Fury you're missing. Another item increases the damage of Seismic Slam. Another item makes Weapon Throw generate more Fury. The further away the enemy is, the more Fury is generated. For the Demon Hunter, more buffs to Hatred Generators. An item will make your Hatred Generators reduce your damage taken for 5 seconds. On to class changes. There's some minor buffs coming to some underutilized Barbarian skills and runes. Same thing with the Demon Hunter. Specifically, Spike Trap is getting a lot of reworks and buffs. Then we have the Witch Doctor, who is seeing the biggest changes. Lots of buffs coming to the Witch Doctor. Some underused passives are getting buffed. Zombie Charger and the Zombie Bears runes as well, getting some minor buffs. But the biggest changes coming to Wall of Zombies, again renamed Wall of Death. The power now lasts longer and deals 4 times more damage. The offensive line rune reworked. This increases the width of the wall to 50 yards. And all enemies in front of you are knocked back behind the wall. If you don't know how wide 50 yards is, you can check out this video, but it's basically half of your screen. That's crazy wide. Basically, all of the runes have been reworked and are effectively all new runes. So we have Surrounded by Death, where instead of a wall, we get a circle of zombies. They trap and attack enemies for 1,000 weapon damage. We have Ring of Poison, which summons just that, a ring of poison, that poisons enemies for 1,200 weapon damage over 8 seconds. We have Communing with Spirits, which summons a circle of spirits for 6 seconds that deal 1,400% weapon damage and chills enemies. Then lastly, we have Firewall, which raises a wall of flame 40 yards wide for 8 seconds that protects you against hackers. No, it burns enemies who walks through it, causing them to take 1,000 weapon damage over 4 seconds. As for Wizard, the Unstable Anomaly passive is being reworked. Now when you receive fatal damage, you instead gain a shield equal to 300% of your maximum life for 5 seconds, and release a shockwave that knocks back enemies and stuns them for 3 seconds. Up until now, Wizard had the worst free resurrection passive. This will definitely help. We have a couple minor changes coming to the Crusader as well, but onto some more global changes here. We've data mined some patches to Season 4. We have 3 separate tiers of bonuses that you can unlock through your season journey, and again, we explained the season journey in our last video here. But basically, the rewards that you will unlock throughout Season 4 include 3 portrait frames, a pennant, a pet, and wings. Now, another sweeping change that was partially teased to us by Blizzard was that Greater Rifts no longer require trials. But in addition to that, we see that Nephilim Rifts no longer need keys. That's a nice surprise. And further, quote, bounties are now a great source of gold, crafting recipes, and materials. So bounties are probably where you'll get all those crafting materials that you need for Kanai's cube. We're about wrapping up here. We also found data mine strings for something called an awesome shrine, and its buff is, quote, you get all the shrine buffs. So awesome. Whether this is just something internal, or whether it'll actually come to the game, we don't know, but it's in there. It will likely be renamed if it does come into the game. And the last thing we'll just briefly throw in here is that there are strings attached to something called benchmark mode, which seems to test which difficulty is best for you. So that wraps up this data mine. Again, take everything with a grain of salt, but as we've previously seen, most of what's data mined turns out to be accurate. We're bound to see some sweeping changes throughout the PTR, so do stay tuned. I plan on playing, live streaming, and reporting back what's going on in the public test realm, so come back to this channel for updates, and follow me on Twitch for my Friday night Diablo streams. That wraps up this video. Thanks for watching. Leave a comment letting me know what you're most excited about for the upcoming patch. Check out these other videos, and if you enjoyed this one, share with friends, hit like, and subscribe to join Rhykker's Raiders.